Here's a quick lesson on personality because it's important to have a personality as a business. And I don't mean to be you have to be a certain way, but you have to understand what your personality is and use it to your advantage because your personality should match your target audience. You should have a personality that your target audience relates to and connects with. What is your business's personality? It's your voice, your style, and your place. So this means not only what you sound like, but also the types of words you use, how you use them. Are you casual? Are you very professional? Are you more modern? Are you a little bit old school? Your style comes across through the graphics, the types of content you put out, and also with place, it's about where you are. Are you on social media? And within social media, are you on the old school traditional Facebook or are you on the new school places like Snapchat? All of this comes across as your personality. And where does this come across in terms of digital marketing? This comes across in your website, throughout your entire website, in the emails you're sending, in the videos you create, and the advertisements that you make. Now let's go through some examples. So first, Video School Online. Our style is down to earth, honest, friendly, I hope anyways, peer-to-peer, as opposed to being a know-it-all, and confident, but not in a bragging way. We are confident in what we know and what we say, but we're not saying it to make you feel bad about yourself. So that's our sort of personality. Let's go through some more case studies to see what other types of companies are using and what other companies' personalities are. One of the best ways to find a company's personality is by checking out their social media pages. So we're going to dive into Instagram for 3 companies to see how these companies are sharing their personality. First is a company we looked at before, Chubbies, the maker of short shorts. And their Instagram page is full of user stories or user submitted photos. Most of these photos, and I actually listened to an interview with the founder of Chubbies, and most of these are just photos that people send and submit. And because they have been doing this for a while, so many people are submitting photos that a lot of their Instagram marketing is done for them. And you can imagine why this works well, because you're seeing real people, normal people, well, quote unquote normal people. Some people might not say normal people, people that maybe you want to be like. And if you see all these people posting, it's not, the slick model, and they even say this, they start out, the company start out, they're all kind of big chubby dudes wearing short shorts, so they're not going for the sort of perfect skinny model look. They also have a lot of old dad photos, and that's kind of their kind of thing too, the reminiscent old 70s 80s photos of your dad in the short shorts. And so you can see here just lots of fun photos. Not a lot of graphics, just photos, but they also kind of they memify them. And so they do very simple graphics of just some text on top of the image. Momming level expert. Let's see here. Doing the ostrich the best way to avoid cute couples pics. So they do these, they make them funny, and that's their personality. Let's look at Tom's, which is very different. Tom's goes for the more classic, beautiful look. Their photos are perfectly composed, well lit, well edited. They do tend to have very beautiful people in their Instagram posts, so they're going after that model look, and that's a different way of going after people. If you see all these beautiful people wearing their shoes and their products, for many people that's going to make you want to wear and purchase Tom's shoes and products too, because you want to be like these beautiful people. That's a marketing technique that's worked for a long time. And so you can just tell their personality and their voice and their tone from these photos. They're very high class, very beautiful. And not that you have to have beautiful people to have this beautiful style, but they do extra work in terms of composition. And not all of these photos have people in them. Some of them are just photos of the product themselves. Some, it's more of a lifestyle thing. So for this example of this photo of this girl on this lifeguard tower, you don't really see what shoes she's wearing. You can kind of tell she's wearing Tom's, but it's more about the lifestyle of it. with your pup. This is a great photo because it's advertising for the shoes, or it's marketing the shoes, but what do you look at? You see this cute pup. So a totally different style of voice and marketing for Toms compared to Chubbies. Let's look at one more. MailChimp. So this is a new company we really haven't talked about. MailChimp is an email marketing tool, allows you to grow your email list, send email marketing sequences and emails. And if you look at their page, it's just funny, silly. You know, their name is MailChimp, so it is almost automatically going to be silly. So you got these crazy funky photos with, you know, monkeys, MailChimp written with mustard on a hot dog. I think that was actually for National Hot Dog Day. That's probably why they did that. So just completely kind of absurd. And a lot of them you're like, well, what is this about? It's, you know, how do you market in tech company that does email marketing? Do you just post a bunch of pictures of your tool, your application? No, MailChimp has gone crazy the opposite way. They're showing just funny, weird people, you know, just they've got their brand identity. They got the monkey as their brand identity, or the chimp. Sorry for chimp monkey fans. Chimps, I believe, are a lot different compared to monkeys, but they've got their chimpanzee as their mascot, and that shows up a lot. But just bright colors, that's another thing. But their voice is definitely fun, silly, and they show that personality in these photos. And that's, you know, different than maybe another company like Aweber. I'm curious to see if Aweber, another email marketing tool, has an Instagram account. So you go here and they do. Oh, they got some silly stuff too, showing, looks like behind the scenes of the worker, but a lot more professional. You know, they're showing the equipment, they're showing these sort of stock images, and, you know, it might work for them. A lot of these sort of techie in the office, much different than the MailChimp. You can kind of tell they got this mascot here who's a little bit different. Let's look at one more because I think comparing these brands is important. ConvertKit. This is the one that I actually use. They cater towards sort of smaller bloggers. So let's go to ConvertKit. So a lot of photos at conferences. You know, maybe this is just because this conference just happened, but yeah, they show a lot of these internet gurus and thought leaders and experts. It's cool, but it's different than the normal everyday people. This is showing professionals use their tools, and as an individual, as a business, you're like, wow, all these people use this. It's not like, wow, I see a monkey, that's funny, I like their branding, that's eye-catching and memorable. Probably ConvertKit and Aweber's pages aren't as memorable as MailChimp, but you can definitely tell their voice. See here, professional, super sort of that stock image look, which I don't think personally is the best. Even though I use ConvertKit, it's not the best marketing because you don't really see much personality. Anyways, I think this was a really interesting experiment to look at the Instagram accounts for these different companies. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other companies that you'd like us to check out, or if you have any advice or tips for us, please let us know. And we can't wait to see what you do with your own Instagram marketing and just digital marketing voice. Now you know your personality, you know why you're different from your competition. Let's gear towards your audience a little bit more. How do you find your audience in the first place? First, let's start with the broadest circle of people who might be interested in your product or service, and then we're going to narrow it down a little bit. So for me, the broadest circle that I came up with was anyone with a camera and a computer, because anyone with a camera could shoot videos or photos and might be interested in learning how to create visuals with them. But that's a pretty broad circle. That is billions of people around the world. And that's great to have that big of an audience, but sometimes it's harder to sell your product if your audience is so big. You might want to start with a more niche down audience and then maybe expand. So then I was trying to think to myself, let's make it a little bit smaller. So my next circle was anyone that wants to make videos. And that's how Video School Online started, teaching just video production. And that was great because we were sort of niched down to anyone that wants to make videos, not just entrepreneurs, not just creative filmmakers. But this sort of put us in a bubble where if we wanted to put out photo editing classes or other types of design classes, we were going outside of our target audience. So our third idea for our circle of audience was anyone that wants to create visuals to improve their business. And the reason why we chose that was because, yes, while we will help people who just want to do it for fun, the people who were buying courses from us were mostly people who wanted to learn a skill to improve their career or to use it for their own business, to learn how to make videos for their own business, or maybe to start a YouTube channel as a side hustle, or start a photography business as a side hustle or a full-time business, but not just people who were doing it as a hobby. And we have found that gearing our content marketing and our advertising to that type of person has really succeeded. A really important thing to look at is what are the pain points that this customer is feeling? Because if you understand their pain, then you can solve their problems. And if you can do that, you could sell your solution to them. The first pain point that I found our target audience had was that the pro tools that we're teaching, like Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe After Effects, they're confusing, especially for beginners. They're intimidating to even start. And I know that because I was that type of customer. I remember opening up Adobe After Effects multiple times and closing it because I was like, no way, I'm not gonna do that right now. I don't have time to learn how to do this. And so that's one of the pain points. The second pain point is that knowing how to use the tool is not the only problem. Knowing how to use it properly is a big, major problem still. And that's something we're continuing to try to solve that problem, because we can teach how to use Photoshop, but how do we teach someone how to create a beautiful graphic or to create a graphic that sells a product? And then a third problem, which is kind of separate but more geared towards the entrepreneur, the business that we're targeting, is that they don't have money to outsource this. A lot of companies will just outsource and hire someone to create graphics for them or to create videos for them. But there is a huge market of people who are either solopreneurs, people working on their businesses on their own, side hustlers, or small companies that might need to do it themselves, at least for the time being, and they don't have money to hire out. So we want to teach them the easiest and the quickest way so that they can do it but get back to their own business as quickly as possible. Next, understand, where does your audience live? We live in the modern internet age, so in terms of places, we're talking about places on the internet most times. We're talking about on Facebook, on Twitter. Are they on Snapchat? Are they on Pinterest? On Pinterest, you're gonna have lots more DIY type people compared to maybe on Instagram, you're gonna have a lot more high-end fashion people. So understanding how these different social media works is good so that you can figure out if your audience is on there or not. So by answering these questions, you can understand who your target is. And by knowing that, we can move forward with the content marketing and the advertising and social media strategies with this course. But first, we got to make sure that our business is valid. And that's coming up next, business validation. You have what you think is a great business idea, but you're not sure if there are people that will actually want your products and services. The next step is to actually validate your business. And there's two different ways that I suggest doing this. First, you have soft validation, which is what you can do right now without an audience, literally as I teach you how to do it. The second is hard validation, and I'll talk about that coming right up. But first, let's talk about soft validation, which basically means doing just a little bit of market research yourself. I like using tools like Google, Facebook, and YouTube to see if a topic is popular. Now, I'm a digital media company, so this might look a little different than what you might do if, for example, you're creating a brick and mortar business. You still have to do digital marketing as a brick and mortar business. But whereas I, for this example, am going to be looking to see if personal finance for millennials is a great topic for a business or a great business idea, you might be looking at, oh, is there another beer brewery in my city? Or how have breweries done in the local cities around me? That might be the kind of market research you do to see what type of competition is out there, if there's an audience for that competition. It's relatively easy to go online and see what companies are doing what you're doing, how are they doing it, and are they successful. If there's another company that's doing exactly what you're doing and it doesn't seem like they have a lot of followers on social media, it doesn't look like they have a lot of business going to their website, then it might mean that your business idea is not valid. Not necessarily, because some companies are really, really good without that social media presence, but it's an easy indicator for a lot of online products and online businesses. So let's dive in and actually do a bit of validation. For this example, as I mentioned, I'm thinking about a business geared towards millennials about personal finance. I know personal finance is a huge topic, but I feel like there's a niche or an area that's not being served as much as it could be, and that's finance for millennials. So the first thing that I would do is go to Amazon and search for your topic. So I literally type in personal finance for millennials, and I see a few books pop up. So I don't have this, I'm not the first person with this idea, but right off the bat, I can tell that this idea might not be the best idea in terms of how we position it. Millennials might not be the ones searching for personal finance advice. And what happens when millennials grow up? And does this idea of personal finance for millennials just not exist anymore? Maybe a better idea is personal finance for young adults, or personal finance for kids even. Because on Amazon, if I just type in, let's just type in personal finance, for example, when you type in personal finance, you see a lot more books with a lot more reviews. Now, the total number of books is an indicator, but better yet, it's the number of reviews that kind of indicate whether a topic is popular or not. Let's do one more search for personal finance for, and sometimes I like to see what the auto search results pop up. So you see personal finance for dummies, personal finance for teens, personal finance for kids. So let's do for teens. There's a decent amount of books, some with more reviews than the millennial idea. So this automatically tells me that personal finance for teens might be a better idea. Young adults. Let's just see. Now here, personal finance for young adults, we got more books with more reviews. Now this isn't an end-all be-all sort of test to see if a topic is perfect or not, but I know just from some of these and some of the authors that I see that personal finance for just young adults might be a better target audience. Let's do the same on YouTube. So I searched for personal finance for millennials, and I already see that the first result is actually from a channel called Millennial Money. So this is exactly my idea. And let me just go to their channel just to see what they're actually doing. But I'm guessing this is a channel that is geared towards millennials. Let's just see if it's actually a relevant channel, if they're posting a lot, because I see the review subscribers is very low. Man, they're posting a few videos, but not that many. Now, this is a good sign. Did it just not work? Was there not an audience for it? Or did she just not push far enough or hard enough to make it work? Who knows? Let's go back and let's search for just personal finance. Lots more views on these videos when you get to personal finance. What I'll also do is I'll just search for channels instead of videos to see what types of channels there are. What I've actually personally heard is that personal finance is an area on YouTube that is underserved. That's something I've heard through some other research. So that's partly why I think YouTube does need some more personal finance channels. But I don't think, again, that personal finance for millennials is a great idea. Lastly, let's go over to Facebook. Search for personal finance for millennials, no groups. And I'm searching for groups because that will tell me, are people interested in this topic? Let's just search for personal finance like we always do. Groups. lots of groups with lots of members, investing groups, personal budgeting groups, lots of different groups here about personal finance. So what this soft validation tells me is that personal finance might be a good idea for a company, but not necessarily geared at quote unquote millennials, because that leaves out a lot of people who might be interested in my business or services. So let's move on to hard validation, which is a little bit different. This will give you an even better idea if your business is valid. With hard validation, I'm talking about cold calling people, sending out surveys, sending out emails to people, and literally asking them either, one, is this a good idea? Or asking them what they want from you. If you are able to build up a reputation on Facebook or on social media, if you have any sort of email list, you can ask the audience or your audience what they're looking for. You can also post surveys online. Find social media groups related to that topic, for example, personal finance, and put up a survey. Use surveymonkey.com or Google Forms to quickly and easily create surveys that you can just share online to get feedback. This could be just about your business itself or about a specific part of your business, a specific service that you're going to provide. And that's what I've done with my audience right now, because we put out a lot of online courses and media. And so we'll ask our audience, what courses do you want? What videos do you want? What types of social media posts do you want? What types of podcasts, blog articles do you want? And in the next lesson, I show you an actual example of a survey that I sent out, including all the survey copy, the results we got, and it shows you exactly why sending out surveys can be so powerful. So these are two very easy ways to do market research. You could take an entire class about actually doing market research, and that would take many hours. But if you want to just get started and jump right in, these are a few ways that you can get started today. Yeah.